Hey everybody, this is Colton with POSGuys.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at Zebra's newest entry into their line of tablets here, the ET40. Now the ET40 and its 5G equipped counterpart, the ET45 rather, are Zebra's most affordable tablet to date. And in my personal opinion, I think that this tablet, with its price tag, doesn't sacrifice performance at the same time. In fact, I would say that this is probably one of the best valued Android rugged tablets on the market right now. There's a bunch of use cases for this particular tablet, but in particular, I'm going to be talking about how this tablet is really well equipped for businesses who might have used, consumer grade devices in the past, but who wants to have a little something more, but not really dish out thousands of dollars for a super high-end tablet. So I think that this tablet is a nice middle ground. I'm going to give an overall view of the unit itself, starting off with its appearance, then going into the HUD a little bit. And throughout all of this, I'll kind of be highlighting some of the cool features that this has that puts it a step above all the other consumer grade tablets on the market right now. So with that, I'm going to zoom you on in so you can take a closer look, and let's get going. All right, so now you're zoomed in here so we can take a look at the device itself. So let's start to break down a little bit, and we'll start off with some of the bigger things. This is an Android equipped tablet. It's going to come loaded by default with Android 11, but Zebra has stated that it is upgradable to at least Android 14 once those are made available. All units are going to come preloaded with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi 6, but the ET45 models in particular are also going to give you the option to have a SIM slot. Whew, that's a hard one. They can get it up to 5G LTE compatible. So no matter where you're using these devices, whether it's going to be in a small retail store or you want to take it outside onto the field, you'll have a tablet that can communicate with what you need it to. It's an 8-inch. There are two different screen sizes. There's an 8-inch and a 10-inch model. That's when measured diagonally. And we'll start to go into a little bit of the details on that screen later. But first, I wanted to sort of show you around all the different button options that this thing has, because there are a lot to go over. There is, of course, the power button here on the top. Press that, goes off, on, super standard. You're going to have on the bottom here, you're going to have the volume up and down, very simple. Pretty much what you come to expect there. And then what's a little bit unique about this is that you're going to have 4 additional buttons. You're going to have a button on the side here, a button on the bottom, these little 2 guys right here, and then you're going to have one on the top, this little yellow dude, and this bottom dude, which are both yellow. Now, all 4 can be automatically programmed to do whatever you want it to do. So if we open up the test demo here, of course, the top one is going to trigger the barcode scanner. I'll just blast that directly into the camera. Bottom one, also going to trigger that as well. But then we also have the 2 programmable buttons here on the bottom. I have one opening the camera, which is this bottom one here, and we'll use that in a second. And then we also have this little top one, this one on the side here, and I have that set to automatically open the settings menu. Now, when you open the settings menu, and I'm going to show you really quickly how easy it is to program the keys. There's a little setting here at the bottom that's only going to be found on this particular version of Android. And you can see all the different buttons here. So of course you can, you have the little trigger options here, which you can trigger to, or set to trigger any number of things. You can see that one's set to the camera, and then another one which is set to the settings up here, my bad. So if I was to go ahead and change that, I can change it to any number of things here. So let's say I wanted to open Google with it. There we go. So now if I press this button, look at that, pops open Google. And the programmable buttons are great. That's just not a feature that you're going to get in a lot of these consumer grade devices. And that's going to save, each of your employees just a little bit of time each time that they're having to switch between apps, and that saved time really adds up over the course of the life cycle of the product. You could be talking about saving your employees collectively, 50, 60, 70 hours, after a course of this life cycle, and that really adds up and pays for itself right there. But there are other reasons to consider this tablet, and one of them is the screen itself. Now, it might not look too snazzy. I mean, obviously, it looks very pretty, beautiful colors. Oh, going there. A little beautiful background there that you can see. But there's two different models of this device. You're gonna have one that's 8 inches wide and another that's 10 inches wide, and that's measured diagonally right here. Pulling up more settings. I'm just gonna turn this off right now. It's not too distracting. Every unit display is gonna come equipped with a Corning Gorilla Glass, which is basically just a glass that's been coated with a special chemical covering to make it shadow resistant. You're gonna see that some models, some higher end tablets will have that coating, but it's a little bit beefed up on these, and you kind of have to get to some of the higher tablets. They're going to actually cost about the same, if not more than this, to get a similar impact resistance. And I shouldn't need to go too much into why having that additional durability is really valuable in a business device, especially employees who want to toss these things around and be really rough with them. So that's a good thing to consider if you're looking to purchase a tablet like this. Further differentiating the ET40 from consumer tablets is going to be the inclusion of an integrated barcode scanner directly into the unit itself. So instead of having to buy a whole separate barcode scanner and carry it around with you, which is invariably going to get misplaced or dropped at some point, it's built into the unit. So right away, you're going to be earning back some of that premium that you're going to be paying for an enterprise tablet right there, just by getting it all out of the way with one device. I'll very briefly jump into some of the specs on the scanner. Feel free to skip ahead a couple, like 30 seconds if this isn't your thing, but it's important to nerds like me. Basically, it's going to come, the standard models of this are going to come loaded with an SE4710 scan engine, which is a mid-range engine by Zebra standards, but they do use it in their industrial barcode scanners, and it can scan to about 3 feet away. I'll do some testing here in a little bit, but that's basically what I found to be pretty true for my own testing. The more premium models of the ET40 will use the SE55 advanced engine, which can go all the way to like 45 feet if you have a large enough barcode. Here I have the standard SE4710 version, so that's what I'm going to be testing with today. But if I can find some footage later of some testing with the SE55, I'll throw it up. If I can't, you won't see it. Very, very sorry. But give us a call afterwards, and we could probably get that pulled together for you if you really want it. So in order to test this out, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of editing magic, and I'm going to create some little barcodes that we can test. So let's give it a perfect. All right, look at that, the magic of video editing here. So I've gone ahead and pulled together an assemblage of sample barcodes here that we can pull from. We have some pretty standard ones here. We have some UPCs, some code 39s, some interleave 205, QR codes, just a whole smattering of options here for us to choose from. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up our barcode scanning app. Pull it up here. Look at that, it's already ready to go. And you can use either an on-screen little trigger to trigger it, which it's struggling with. Oh, there you go. Or you can use the little buttons on the side, and that's what I'll use from now on. So we'll start with the UPCAs, a couple of different versions of those, 128s, and it seems to be scanning them pretty effectively. This is about 2.5, 3 feet. Anything after that, it starts to get a little, oh, I'm totally off this camera there. Look at that. I'll bring it down over here so you can see it a little bit better. So yeah, definitely over 3 feet, it starts to drop off a lot, but anything around 3 feet, especially off to the side, it seems to do relatively well. You might be able to see it. There is a little green dot. I'll switch this camera angle here so you can take a look at that. This kind of helps indicate where you're going. It's with these 205s, it does seem to be having a little bit of issue with those. I'll have to look into that. But the code 39s in particular, the 93s, nope, all right. We got a little RS there, some QR codes, PDF codes, data matrices, maxi codes. There you go. So for the most part, it does pretty well. Definitely a lot better than some barcode scanners that I've seen on the market. So I would say it looks like the Interleave 205s is struggling with a little bit for certain, this in particular. And there's a couple of these smaller ones, especially the smaller, denser ones, that were having a little bit of trouble scanning. Now, admittedly, these aren't the best codes, but you know, we're doing a little bit of a stress test here, so to speak. So yeah, I think overall it performs really well. Definitely, you know, you're not going to get a high-end, super industrial scanner built in from the start, unless you want to move up to something like the RS55. But this particular unit here, you know, with the standard range scanner, performs in a very standard way. So having the flexibility and the ability to just have it built into the unit itself definitely is a very big plus for this particular unit. So now I'm going to go ahead, give myself another clap of the hands here, clear this out, and we'll start to talk a little bit about some of the communication options that you have on this in terms of like ports and whatnot. So let me go ahead and pop those off. Beautiful. There we go. Alrighty. So breaking into some of the behind the plastic, I guess. I was gonna say behind the scenes, but that's definitely not the right usage there. The base model of the ET40 is going to come with 4 gigabytes of RAM and 64 gigabytes of flash memory, but there are some models of it that are going to come loaded with 8 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of memory, flash memory rather. The RAM on this particular unit is a little lower than what you would see on some of the higher end tablets in its price range, but for most point of sale and warehouse applications, you'll never really need anything more from the RAM. You know, 8 gigs is definitely going to be capped out for just about every major application that I know of. All models will come equipped with a Qualcomm Snapdragon SM6375 processor, clocking in at 2.2 gigahertz. Some people will be really interested by that. You might not be. Sorry that I'm overwhelming you with some nerdy details here. But with that, yeah, let's take a look at the other part here, and that's what's behind this panel in particular, and that's going to be the powering options on this. Now, the unit is going to charge with a USB-C cord, which is flipping it around. There it is. And that's going to be the other option outside of the USB-C, which is pretty standard everywhere. Is going to be these little wireless contacts here. Now, these little pins are a big step up over what you'll find on a consumer grade tablet. They are super handy because over time the pins on the USB-C connections can break, and if employees are rough with it, they're way less likely to break a wireless connection like this than with it here. And if you only have a tablet that has, flip it around here, a tablet that has this little USB-C connection on it and it breaks, now you got to use, you know, the little Qi charging pad, which isn't very efficient, or buy a whole new tablet. So in the end, you know, you're just going to increase the cost of ownership over time. But if you had just invested in something with a wireless option like this, and it also usually charges faster as well. So, you know, those are all really big pluses. One of the things that you'll have on this tablet, which is really handy, is a battery manager tool. So if you come back here, pull this out and do the battery manager, you'll see this screen essentially, and that'll tell you the charging level. I forgot to charge it before the video, so it's a little low. It'll tell you the health of the battery, as well as a time until empty, which is really cool. So this one has about 2 days left at its current usage. It's been a little, you know, sitting for a while, so that's not the same as scanning constantly. But it'll also tell you some other cool things, you know, outside of the scale, the battery temperature, stuff like that. All really handy info to have. And usually you need to download a third-party app to measure that sort of thing, and it's not always accurate. This is built directly in and has a removable battery. So once that battery does degrade, you won't have to pay a professional to come out and do it. It's super easy. You can just unscrew a couple screws here, pop this out, and you'll be good to go. And I could try prying with this. Let's see if I can get it right here. Nope. All right. I'll need a little screw there, and I don't want to break it on camera here. But yeah, another cool option that you'll have with these is that The batteries on this can do something called a hot swap. Essentially, what that means is that when the battery is starting to run out, if you're at like 1 or 2%, instead of having to power off the whole device, take out the battery, put in a new battery if you're able to, rather, and then restart all the apps, you can just turn on a little setting. You can actually take out the battery and it'll still operate for a while. It gives you a grace period to put in a new battery. It'll be up and ready to go without missing a beat. And again, kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier with the programmable buttons, that's going to save your employees time. And it might, it's only going to add on a couple minutes turning it off and on and getting all your applications up and ready to go. But those couple minutes over, the couple years that you'll have the device really add up and will save you a ton of time and paid labor in the long run. So another really big plus with going with a commercial grade tablet like this device over a consumer tablet. So Rugability wise, this particular tablet is going to come with an IP65 environmental sealing. That means that it can withstand low pressure jets of water, which is the same as some of other Zebra's higher end tablets like the ET41. But it's also going to be able to withstand 4 feet drops to concrete by itself and 5 feet if you get the little additional rugged frame option that you have on top of it. Finally, we're going to be talking about the camera that this particular unit has here on the back. It is a 13 megapixel camera, which is actually better than most of the higher end tablets on the market today. For context, the iPad Pro 12 is only 12 megapixel, and the Galaxy S8 Tab Ultra just meets it at 13 megapixels itself. The front camera here on the front, which is right here, does come in at 5 megapixels, which is for sure lower than most higher end tablets, but it does fall in line with many of the mid-range tablets. And for most point of sale, commercial, warehousing applications, you're really only ever using the front camera anyway. You're not really ever going to be using the back. I'll throw a few pictures right now kind of showing off the camera. Obviously, it's not going to exceed or meet like a DSLR camera or a phone that's like a Google Pixel with it's like 20 or 30 megapixels or something wild like that. But for just about any application that you'll need on a warehouse, it's gonna perform just fine. And I found the camera UI interface to be pretty straightforward. And the cool thing with a tablet like this is that if you are a software developer or a company that can pay for a software developer, you can sort of integrate the camera directly into the application so that you're not having to like take photos, upload them to a separate app, and have it be a whole thing. So that's a pretty nice feature. So that's all of the specs on the product itself. Now let's talk about the accessories here, because in this regard, Zebra has provided a ton of options and far more than you'll find support on with just about any consumer grade tablet. So I'll throw some photos up as I talk about these things, but you're gonna have charging docks, which we've kind of talked about before, that can use this little adapter here. So you can charge 5 of these in one bay and have it all super accessible there. There are expansion battery packs to increase the battery life. You're gonna find rugged boots, which sort of increase the drop rating to a little over 5 feet. Mentioned that a little bit before as well. You're gonna find detachable presentation stands so that you can turn this tablet into a point of sale setup that you can then pick up and walk around and do all number of things. And there's a bunch more. There's a whole product compatibility guide, or accessory guide rather, and it's like 50 pages long. It just has a ton of different options that you can choose from on this. So anything that you kind of want this tablet to do, there's probably an accessory that can do it. So of course, all of those need to be purchased separately from the tablet itself. So definitely feel free to give us a call if you're interested in any of those, and we can help you get that all pulled together in a kit. But with that, that is going to wrap up this video. If you are interested in picking up this tablet, or interested in sort of exploring some other options, definitely feel free to give us a call. Our number is on the screen now. But with that, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch. Hopefully you learned something good, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care, everybody.